Having a basic understanding of those needs and what drives us can help us to be very strategic in how we form relationships to make sure we're targeting those areas that need met. And it helps us to build stronger relationships when we're very intentional about it. So, today we're going to talk about 6 fundamental needs that all of us have to varying degrees, help you get a better understanding of that, and help you to put together a plan for how to address that strategically with those in your life that you love. Do you want to achieve your goals, but anxiety is tripping you up? Like to keep those fun weekend plans, but depression has you counseling again? Hey, I'm Lori, dog mom, lover of nature, and hygge enthusiast. Positive psychology skills help me overcome chronic severe PTSD. If you're ready to learn how to overcome your anxiety and depression and rediscover happiness and purpose in life, then get your cozy on and let's get started. I am so excited to let you guys know that this week we are dropping our very first bonus episode. Woohoo! I'm so excited. Periodically throughout the life of this podcast, I want to be able to look at various issues related to mental health, specifically PTSD, depression, anxiety, and other related topics. I want to look at them through a biblical lens. And this week, we're going to look at the life of one of the Bible's biggest heroes, Elijah, when he was at a point of great depression, and how God showed up in that moment. God provided hope and healing, very practical solutions, met him with kindness. We're going to see what God does in this moment and how he's standing by to do the same for you. So I'm excited to hear what you think, and hopefully you walk away as encouraged as I was when God first gave me this passage several years ago, and once again as I studied in preparation for this podcast. Looking back at various chapters in my life, I'm amazed at how often God put the exact person in my life that I needed in that very moment. I remember during my study abroad semester, I was studying in England, but had taken a weekend to go to Salzburg, Austria. Beautiful town. If you ever get a chance, go. But I rented a bicycle to go along the river, and it was a beautiful ride. And I had an accident and ended up, found out later I had broke the radial head in my elbow. Didn't know it at the time. I just knew it hurt like crazy. And when I was headed back to the hostel where I was staying, I began praying. I was literally hundreds and thousands of miles away from anybody who knew me. There wasn't a single soul in that entire town who knew who I was. And I was in so much pain. I just wanted somebody to feel sorry for me and to give me a hug or to tell me it was going to be okay, or just what I just needed someone to provide some tenderness in that moment and some caring. And I remember riding back to the hostel praying, I'm like, God, could you just send somebody to feel sorry for me? I got back to the hostel and turned in the bicycle and went to go get some ice to put on my elbow, and standing there right where I walked up to get the ice was this gentleman. We became friends later, had never met him before, and he looked over and realized I was in pain, and he's like, oh my goodness, are you okay? What's your name? My name is Mark. How can I help you? And he provided exactly what I needed in that moment, which was someone to care for me while I was in so much pain. We became good friends. We're still in contact today. It was a person that God provided for me to meet a need that I had in my life in that moment. A desire for connection is something that is built in our very DNA. God created us to be community. For those of you that are familiar with Scripture, you look back clear in Genesis when God created the earth. He said it's not good for man to be alone, so he created woman. He built our whole entire society around community, around family, around connections. And there's something about us. We are created to be social creatures. We need each other. We need people. Having a basic understanding of those needs and what drives us can help us to be very strategic in how we form relationships, to make sure we're targeting those areas that need met. And it helps us to build stronger relationships when we're very intentional about it. So today we're going to talk about 6 fundamental needs that all of us have to varying degrees, help you get a better understanding of that, and help you to put together a plan for how to address that strategically with those in your life that you love. Now, all of us have these 6 fundamental needs in some measure, but how much we need that certain thing or in what order the needs are going to depend largely on your core values and who you are as a person. But once you discover which needs matter the most to you or your partner, you know how to communicate with that person in a way that is fulfilling for them. Now, it's very easy for us to get caught up in communicating in ways that are important to us, which is good. I mean, we're at least trying, right? But it's much more impactful if you can communicate in a way that is important to the other person and meeting their needs and determining what is most important to them and making sure those needs are met. So that's your key number one in your strategy, is finding out what is important to that other person. And we're going to get into that a little bit more here in a bit. But let's jump in and figure out what those 6 fundamental needs are. So the first one is certainty. And this is a sense of security that all of us need to some degree or the other. Knowing that the other person is going to be there, knowing that you can depend on them, knowing that you have a life that isn't going to fall out from underneath you. Now, understanding life happens and we can't always control that. Things can change on a dime that we have no control over. But to the extent that we are able to provide a sense of security for those that we love and that we're in our relationship, and letting them know that we're dependable, we're going to be there. That is one of the fundamental needs, is understanding that sense, the need for security in a relationship and in your life. On the flip side of that, and in some ways you might think it's contradictory, we also need variety. For myself, if I have a sense of security, then I'm ready to branch out into variety because I know there's a foundation that I can depend on, and now we can have some fun with some variety. Again, this is going to be different for other people. But, the old saying, variety is the spice of life. So changing things up a bit and making them a little bit different and presenting some new challenges or some new aspects, surprising your partner with, whatever, a bouquet of roses for the first time ever, whatever that could be. But providing a little bit of variety in your relationship can help it be healthy and to grow and keep you from getting into a rut. Significance is the third one. So the third fundamental need is to feel like you are important and significant to somebody. We all have a need to feel like someone loves us and we're special to them. We're their number one, or at least really high in their hierarchy of people. To feel like you're significant, that you're offering something that is important to your circle or the people that are in your lives. That's very important to us in helping us to feel like we have purpose and meaning, that we have a significance. Now, for some people, this is going to rank pretty high, and to some degree, it feels like in our society it's gotten a little bit out of balance and almost become narcissistic. We have people that are constantly seeking for attention on YouTube or Instagram or wherever, and it is kind of overblown to some degree and in some circumstances, but it's a very legitimate need. And I think to some degree we run a risk of neglecting this area because it's so overdone in other areas. Because we live in a narcissistic society where it's all about me, sometimes we forget that the fact of the matter is that if having a feeling of significance, that you matter to someone, is critically important. Now, obviously, again, you don't want to get it out of balance and where it becomes narcissistic, but it's so important that you feel someone cares and that you're important to somebody and that you matter. The fourth basic need is a feeling of connection and love. And I mentioned this earlier, but we were built for community. We were created for society, for families, for, the whole village concept. It's important. We need each other. Nobody is perfect on their own. We all have strengths. We all have weaknesses that we're bringing to the table. And we need other people, and other people need us. We need to have that connection where we feel like there's someone out there that can relate to us, that can speak to us, and that we can speak to them, that we're connected to them. So feeling of connection and love, feeling like someone loves you and cares for you and that you can love and care for them, very important and fundamental need for all of us, for the human race. The fifth fundamental human need is growth. Now, there's a saying that if you're not growing, you're dying. You're at least stagnating if you're not growing. So it's important that you have growth, both as an individual and within your relationships. So as an individual, there's a need to challenge yourself and to grow and do better and to try new experiences or whatever that may be. But there's also that need for growth within a relationship, learning more about each other, deepening your relationship, trying new things, a variety, variety is a spice of life. This is a way you can implement it and growing in that relationship so it doesn't become stale and something that just feels routine. Making sure you're challenging the status quo periodically. It's important for a healthy relationship to also have growth. The sixth and final human need is contribution. It is so important that we are giving back. So important. And this actually will help counterbalance that whole narcissistic thing. To find a way that you're giving back to somebody, even if it's just a small act of kindness to someone, but to find a way that you're giving back. It's good for you as an individual. It's also good for a community. Like if you can pull a group of people together and help them to find someone or a project where you can give back. Maybe take your family down to the homeless shelter and have designated days where you go down there and you're working with them and providing food or providing basic necessities, doing a drive to collect stuff for the local food bank. So you have people in your area that are short on food and you're providing that. Getting involved in your local church and being able to give back to some of the programs there. Find someone on the street. Could be super basic, like opening a door for someone, picking up something they dropped. Very simple things, but it's so important to be able to give to other people. It does something to the soul. And in fact, there's a verse in the Bible that said it's more blessed to give than to receive. It is so much fun to give to other people and to see what kind of difference it can make in their life. It can be very fulfilling. So those are the 6 fundamental needs that each of us have. And again, there's a sense of security. That's need number 1. Need number 2 is variety. So you're not the same thing day in, day out, but you're changing things up periodically. Number 3 is significance. There's a need for significance where we feel like we're important to someone and we matter. Need number 4 is connection and love, feeling like you are not an island, but that you're in that family unit, whether it's by blood or by choice, but that you're part of a unit of people that care for you. And number 5 is growth, being able to make sure you're growing and developing. And number 6 is giving. So important. So now how do we implement this and how do we make this meaningful to us? How do we make this matter in our own lives and how can we implement this? It's all good in theory, right? So how do we put this into practice? So one very important thing is, one, to figure out what your hierarchy of needs are. What is most important to you? What is the area that you feel is lacking? What is something that people can speak into your life to be able to help? That way you're ready to communicate this and you're aware of it and you can work. Like if it's growth, this is something you can work on yourself and also maybe throw it in, like, hey, let's do this to kind of help us grow. Same thing with giving. There's some things you can take action on yourself. So understanding what's important to you and what may be lacking in your own life is a really good first step. So sitting down and assessing this for yourself. But we're talking about building relationships, right? So it's important to understand what is the hierarchy of needs in your partner or your best friend or whoever is in your network, particularly those that are close to you. What is their hierarchy of needs? What is important to them? And what can you do to make it different? So there's a really critical piece here. Ask them. Isn't that just the simplest thing? Ask them what is most important to you. You can run over these 6 things. These I just learned today on this podcast. These are the 6 fundamental needs of the human race. So what's most important to you? You can ask some critical questions. Talk to them about how are you feeling? Are you feeling secure? Do you feel like you're in a rut? Do you understand how important you are to me? Do you know that I love you and that you're part of my family, either by blood or by choice? What can we do to grow together? How can we give together? How can I give to you? What opportunities can I give you to give to me? So sit down and ask them the right questions and then listen. Oh my goodness, this is such a hard one for people to do, including me. Not leaving myself out on this one. Some of it's very natural because the brain moves at such a higher pace than we can speak. Like in the amount of time it takes me to say 10 words, your brain can say 30, 60, a whole bunch more than I can say. The mind moves so much faster. And so it's so easy to get ahead and anticipate what a person's going to say. Or worse yet, and so easy to do, is to listen to reply. You're not listening to comprehend, but listening to reply. Like, when can I want to be able to say this and counteract what they're saying, and debate this issue, or this is how I'm going to reply to that statement. And we're not really listening to understand what the person says. Now, Tony Robbins, he's a practical psychologist, a motivational speaker, a whole bunch of other things. He made the statement that the key to relationships is not so much in speaking and the act of communication, but in listening. You learn so much by simply listening deeply to a person, really focusing on what they're saying, comprehending it, absorbing it, and finding out how at the end you may need to ask some clarifying questions, but letting them explain themselves, clarify it, listen to them, and hear what they're really saying. And this could be some key indicators for how you can address those needs and find out where the shortages are, what they're lacking in. Super, super important. And then sit down with your partner or the person that you're working with, your best friend or whoever it is that you're talking to, and make a plan for how to approach it. And you may not want to address all 6 at once. Pick out the most important, the most critical one. And that plan could be twofold. What can I bring to the table that can help meet this XYZ need in your life? And what can that person do for themselves? Some of this stuff we can address on our own. So how can I make this different? And be specific about it. What specific actions can I take to help you feel more significant in my life? What can we do to give you a feeling of security? How can I help you grow? What can we do together or individually to give back and provide that feeling of significance or meet that fundamental need? And it's really important when you're creating that plan and taking action on that plan to remember to do it in such a way that meets the needs of the other person, not in the way that you would want it done for yourself, which is very easy to do, but to do it in a way that is meaningful to them. So make sure that you're speaking in the language that they understand, taking actions that are meaningful to that person and not necessarily what's meaningful to you. So for me, growth might be learning more about positive psychology or spending time in nature or learning how to better manage my plants. Where for my best friend, her idea of growth right now is learning how to speak French, which is fantastic. Her idea of growth and my idea of growth are going to be very different as individuals. So coming up with a plan that meets the needs of the individual that you're helping and supporting in that situation is really important. So figure out your own needs, talk to your partner, make a strategic plan, and then put it into action. And you'll begin to see a difference and an increased depth in your relationship and a difference in their satisfaction level, your own satisfaction level, as that relationship deepens and becomes more meaningful. Quick reminder, our bonus episode on Elijah drops later this week, so keep your eyes peeled and your ears tuned. And then you can swing by our Facebook group and let us know what you think. The link to the Facebook group is in the comments below. Hey, my friend, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If so, would you please take 30 seconds and share it with someone you know who may be struggling with depression and anxiety? Also, would you please leave a quick review for the show? Knowing how this podcast is helping you fills my heart with so much joy, and it motivates me for future episodes. For now, it's time for Sam and I to head outside to enjoy some sunshine and fresh air. We'll see you back here on Tuesdays and Thursdays for more great episodes.